Mwangi's story there, but also just delving deeper into that petition that is now going to go to the Supreme Court. Let me introduce my panel of guests, and I'll start from my extreme right. We have Anthony Munene. Anthony Munene is an advocate of the High Court. He's also a lecturer and a consultant, both in public and private law. Thank you very much, Anthony, for joining us. We also have the lady in the panel. Thank you very much for coming. Don't worry, you're safe. I'm here. Yeah, Stephanie Muya. She is also a lawyer and she's also a political analyst. At the center, we have Charles Omanga, not a new face here on Kivumbi 2017. Charles Omanga, he is also a lawyer and a political analyst, quite a number of lawyers that we have here on the panel today. And also, last but not least, seated right next to me is Dr. Conrad Bosire, who holds a PhD in devolution. So that makes him an expert in devolution, but he's also an advisor at the Katiba Institute in regards to matters devolution. Thank you very much for joining us. As you can see, quite an able panel. Remember, I want to hear what you have to say about the conversation we'll be having here in studio. Hashtag to use is Kivumbi 2017 or tweet me at Betty M. Kialo. All right, gentlemen and lady, let's begin this conversation. And, you know, we'll be getting to the issues that my colleague Murimi Mwangi has raised in the history of presidential elections in the country. But I just want to hear your thoughts about NASA's move to take this issue to the Supreme Court. Finally, they had said that they will not do it, but right yesterday, Raila Odinga gave the direction that that's the route they are taking. Conrad, I'll start with you. What do you make of that move? Was it because they were a bit caught up between a rock and a hard place, and that was really the only option?
I think I must commend the NASA leadership for taking the step they did to challenge the election results, because all through, we witnessed, even before IBC announced its final results, there was discontent among the NASA leadership. Even the streaming of the results leading up to the announcement of the results. And the reasonable thing to do after IBC, which is mandated to announce the results, is to challenge those results if you're not entirely comfortable with the process or the final result. So while the NASA leadership initially said they will not resort to court or resort to other unspecified constitutional means, I think the most reasonable step to take after that reflection they did was to challenge the results in court and decide to do so in good time, because we have also timelines within which these results have to be challenged.
Right. And Charles said, Conrad is talking about, reflection, and, maybe they've been doing that, and that's the reason maybe they did not make the announcement on Tuesday, and they made that yesterday. But just, hearing what Raila Odinga had to say and the reasons, he really outlined the reasons that brought NASA, to having that petition filed at the Supreme Court. Do you feel that it was a consultative, decision in which quite a number of people were involved, and they saw that this was really the best way forward?
Thank you very much, Betty. First of all, I would want to open my statement that victory is always and has always been a function of deliberate steps. Therefore, I think the move by NASA coalition to go to the Supreme Court to raise the issues and the queries they have with regard to that electoral process is that that was the wisest move. And actually, the mere fact that some of the team leaders had been saying that court is not an option, I believe that that was just a strategic comment.
A strategic
comment. Why? Why? Because it is strategic comment because at least you keep your opponent more focused about other things, that if you have said that court is not an option, maybe they think that you'll resort to demonstrations and civil disobedience. So they are not really focused about putting their papers together and legal team being prepared. Then the last minute, these guys tell you, we are going to court. So this was a political contest, and in political contest, strategy always matters. So I would view that move as a strategic one, and one that should be lauded by each one of us. Because you see, Betty, justice in most occasions is always just found in the court corridors, not on the streets, not anywhere else. And that is why you see the leadership of NASA were wise enough and to tell Kenyans that we are going to court.
All right.
So to me, and from where I sit, I believe that was the best ever move.
All right. Stephanie, was that announcement big enough for you? Because quite a number of Kenyans were asking, we've been waiting for this big announcement or declaration, and just for Raila Odinga to come and say that, it's the Supreme Court, maybe that was the only option that they had on the table.
I actually think that the announcement to me was big enough because I feel like they must have taken their time to prepare so that they come to that announcement. It means that they've looked at all the options. And looking at it, I don't think that there would have been any other viable option while still trying to maintain calm in the country. And that is the one thing that I think I would applaud NASA for, because the expectation generally has been that there's going to be a lot of violence, a lot of discontent, but the nation has been calm. And I feel like the NASA leadership has really tried to maintain that. They have not tried to instigate, which is very good. And I support actually what Charles and Dr. Conrad was saying, that they are following the due process, which is also very good, because now we get to see that our law is being put to use.
All right.
It is there to be put to use.
It's being put to use. Anthony, what did that announcement for you, do to the supporters of NASA yesterday? Did it give them hope that maybe, just maybe, things might turn?
I think yesterday's statesmanship finally resurfaced.
Showed up. Okay.
Yes, because finally we accept that there are those constitutionally mandated institutions to resolve such disputes. And for me, and I think that the NASA leadership showed their supporters that they still have faith in the dispute resolution system. Because most people expected it was going to be about demonstrations, streets, things and so forth. So I think yesterday a lot of sanity was restored in the political arena. However, as I said last time, the only tragic thing about it is that there's still a bit of mischief that's been played around the statements that were also made yesterday. For example, when you say that the Supreme Court has a second chance to redeem itself, it's like you're already intimidating them to make a decision in a certain predetermined way. All these things you're saying about computer-generated results, we'd rather those things are ventilated in the courtroom by their legal team than already throwing it at the Supreme Court and telling them, you have a second chance to redeem yourself. Who is redeeming himself here? If you look at the composition of the current Supreme Court, there are 3 of them who were not there in 2013. And I think that is unfair. And it's also unfair to the other 4 who were there before, to tell them now it's time for you to redeem yourself. It's like you're already intimidating them that this time round, you must decide in a certain way. So I think for me, that step is good. But the public display of this is the evidence we have and you must redeem yourself this time round, that to me is a bit... It's a bit...
Could it be maybe that, back in 2013, there were still very many quarters that were not satisfied with the ruling at that time that, still emphasized and confirmed that Uhuru Kenyatta was duly elected in a credible and fair election? Remember, there were issues to do with the affidavit that could not be, accepted within because it was not within the timelines. Could it be because of that?
That is it. And I think also, again, we have to be sensitive that was the first time the Supreme Court was dealing with such a petition in a very short period of time. But I think they also got beholden to technicalities, because for me, the substance of justice is listening to all sides in their holistic nature. So those may have been the mistakes that the court may then have to look at this time round. The same way that was being said about the Moi Kibaki petition in 1997. And you're told you never served the president physically. But the President Moi's lawyers were in court to say we were not served. The purpose of service is to give you notice that there's a case against you. So if you are not served, what were you doing in court in the first place? But the court went on to say that you did not personally serve. Again, those are the small technicalities that make people view the justice system in a negative way.
But now, having heard your opening statements, let me just let's delve deeper into NASA's case. First of all, Dr. Conrad, do you think they have evidence from what they've been talking about? They're saying they've involved people from cybersecurity. They are waiting for the Form 34As to be availed to them by IEBC, all of them. But what kind of a solid evidence does NASA need to overturn that decision by IEBC or the results that declared Uhuru Kenyatta as president?
I think NASA has, in my opinion, it has a big ground to cover in order to present a credible case before the Supreme Court. Of course, following the news generally and the information out there, I've had the opportunity of seeing the information that NASA wants to rely on in the case, the parallel tallying results that they had, and also the evidence they presented to the press on interference with the technology and all that. But I think what is most important is to present a coherent, comprehensive, and cohesive evidence to show that the results which the IEBC announced are not credible, maybe as a result of the process, or the results do not accurately reflect what the voters did